You're listening to The Secrets of Sacred Art, where we unearth the hidden treasures, history, and deeper meanings in religious and sacred art. We're your hosts, Kathryn Laffrey
and Alix Murray. Welcome to episode 25, Menagerie in the Margins, Animals in the Insular Gospels. In this episode, we will take a look at the wonderful role zoomorphic art plays in the beauty and mystery of the Insular Gospels.
Please follow The Secrets of Sacred Art in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app. For a fuller experience, you can join us on SQPN YouTube's channel, where you can find, that sounded funny, where you can see all the images we are discussing on the show. There's a lot of great images.
Yes.
You can find us on social media on facebook.com/StarQuestMedia, on X at SQPN, or on Instagram at StarQuest Network. All right, Alix, zoomorphic art? Zoomorphic.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. And this
I added an extra letter.
Yeah, that's okay. That's like a new word. But this, again, we always ask our audiences to really go and look at the video version of this podcast, because we always try to find images that we're discussing, and we can describe them. Sometimes I feel like my vocabulary is so limited, but so help us out. You can look at it, and we will describe it as best we can. But the visual side of it is really, really interesting, especially today. And so we are going to be talking about zoomorphic art. And in case you're wondering about what zoomorphic art is, the word zoomorphism is it's derived from ancient Greek, with zoon meaning animal and morphic meaning form or shape. And in the context of art, zoomorphism could be described as art that imagines humans as non-human animals. It can also be defined as art that portrays one species of an animal like another species, or art that uses animals as a visual motif, and sometimes that's referred to as like the animal style. Sometimes gods have been depicted as animals, and basically it means it attributes animal forms or animal characteristics to other animals or things other than animals. So We've got a couple of examples, some kind of contemporary examples, and it was what I loved about this is it gave me an excuse to like draw on all the stuff I'm really interested in. And so the first slide, if you look at it, we have an image, and if anybody is a Tolkien fan, we have two images from the Lord of the Rings films. And one is the white horse on, technically it's supposed to be a green field. That's how it's described in Lord of the Rings in the book. And this is a symbol of the Rohirrim. And so this would be, it's an animal, obviously a horse, and it symbolizes a people and their culture. And then the second image is of Grond. I don't know, do you know who Grond? I don't know the last time you watched the films, but do you know who Grond was?
I always wondered what they were saying, and now I know.
Grond.
I just thought they were grunting.
Grond. No, Grond was this big, like, wolf battering ram, and he was, and they used it to knock down the gates of Gondor. And so again, he's a symbol of the power of the orcs, the power of Mordor. He's really scary. It's kind of cool. I always wonder, I always had my doubts that orcs were this capable and creative to make something this cool looking. But anyway, so these are kind of contemporary images or examples of zoomorphic imagery. And so if we can go, but it's something that human beings have been doing for a very, very long time. And I have a couple of examples of this. So the first one is an image of the Löwenmensch, which means like the lion person, or lion human hybrid. Okay. This was created around 40,000 years ago.
Wow.
And it was found in Germany. I know, it's kind of amazing. And, you know, something this old, we don't know. We can speculate what it might represent, but it's obviously this hybrid.
Okay, wait, I got a really weird question here about the age of this thing.
Yeah.
So we know like the whole carbon dating stuff.
Yeah.
So this is 40,000 years ago, and it's made from
mammoth
ivory.
Mammoth ivory. Yeah.
Is it possible that they found the mammoth ivory much later and then carved it, much in the same way mammoths are found rather freshly frozen in Arctic regions?
That's a good question. I think it's not just, this was not found on its own. There were lots of things around it, and I think what they do is when they find something, they test the organic matter around it as well to confirm. Okay. So it's not just like, I'm going to lift this up, because you're right. Because I think in ancient Egypt, they would use very, very, very old wood, and if they would carve something out of petrified wood, and so that would be, obviously the wood, the material is much older than the piece that was carved from it. I mean, you could say the same thing about now, like if you find like something that's fossilized and dig it up, as you were saying, you can carve it. But it's also, they test everything around it as well, which contributes to, so it's not just, and in fact, when I was reading about this, they did another kind of dating that wasn't carbon dating. They did some other thing. But what's interesting is in this cave, they've found like the first musical instruments, and this is all about kind of, the Lascaux caves is kind of contemporary to them.
Nice.
Yeah. So, but the second one is, and speaking of the Egyptians,
there you go.
This is a bronze figure of Beset. I think that's how you pronounce her name. So she's like a cat goddess. And again, personified, you've got this zoomorphic image. And then the last one is a Mycenaean amphora. Is it amphora? And amphora, sorry, amphora.
Amphora.
With an octopus on it, which I love.
I love that octopus on there. That's awesome.
I know. I really, really like it. So you can have an animal that it kind of has human features. You can have an animal that, and maybe this octopus might have been decorative. It might have represented something. It might have represented the maybe the family or the region that put whatever was stored in the jar, or whatever was supposed to be stored stored in this. So, there are lots of different ways that people use zoomorphic imagery.
Yeah.
And so now we kind of want to bring it into how did these Irish monks use it? Oh, sorry. Oh, another one. My bad. So here we go. This is called, just getting a little bit closer to the Celts and the Picts. So this is a Pictish piece of zoomorphic imagery, and this is called the Ardros wolf. And I think it was found, somebody was like building a wall and they pulled this down and they're like, oh my gosh, look at this.
Oh, what a fun find.
I know. Well, this was found along with another one, which I don't have a picture of like a stag or something. It's beautiful. I love the form here.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it. And the way it flows and the curves and everything of probably representing maybe the fur pattern. It looks a lot like
muscles. The horse on the flag we just saw from the movie.
Yes, it does. Exactly. So you can draw on these images. I'm sure they were aware of this. And so, and then if we want to go to this is interesting. So if you go to the next image, so this is just I've been dying. I really want to share Norwegian sacred art with our audience at some point. So I just thought, here's my opportunity to just do a little bit of a tease. The first one is from the Ernest Stavkirke, and it's right outside the portal or the King's Door. And this is an image. You can see there's a similarity between that Ardros wolf and this image. And that's not to say that the same people made it, but this is just, it's interesting that the styles are so similar. And then the next one is from the old portal door, or the old Stavkirke. And this is so cool. I mean, look at those dragons.
Wow. We got to make this a little bigger for everybody here.
Yeah. Just look at that knotwork.
That's fabulous.
Isn't it?
And that's all carved out of wood.
It is. It's all carved out of wood.
Wow.
I know. I mean, doesn't this look like, I mean, obviously the people who made the Lord of the Rings films, they were obviously heavily influenced by Norwegian zoomorphic art, sacred art. I would call this sacred art. And maybe one day we can go into the details about what we're looking at, but not today. Yeah. Anybody wanted to learn a little bit more about Norwegian sacred art? Let me know. I could bore you for days on it.
I think it'll be of great interest, even in the States, Alix, because
you think
there's, especially up here in the Midwest, there's quite a strong Norwegian influence.
That's true. And then some of the stuff is that I have access to isn't necessarily in English, so it'd be nice. Although I'm a really bad translator, so I'll have to recruit some people to help me out on that one. But anyway, yes. So if we can go on to the next slide, please. Thank you. So this is, I thought we would share a couple of images, zoomorphic images from maybe some lesser known Insular Gospels, because everybody knows about the Book of Kells. I think just as many people have heard about the Lindisfarne Gospels. Not that many people know about the Book of Durrow. And this is this gorgeous little, I mean, I think he's supposed to be a bull, but he looks like a lovely little calf to me. And again, look at the curlicues on the front and hind shoulders. Yeah. So it's just so that's obviously part of their design. But what's so special about this one is the Book of Durrow it is believed that this was drawn by St. Columcille.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So according to the colophon, if you remember the colophon, which kind of gives you information about where something is made and who made it. So according to the colophon in the Book of Durrow, this image was made by St. Columcille. Isn't that cool?
Wow.
I know. And
very neat.
Yes, exactly. So you can see the, and and he's probably representing, this is probably right before the, oh my gosh. Is it the Book of Matthew? I'm so terrible. The Book of St. Matthew, the Gospel of St. Matthew. Is he the bull?
Luke.
Luke. Why do I always get that confused? You're right. Thank you. St. Luke. See, that's why you're here, Kathryn. Keep me on the straight and narrow. Anyway.
Luke and the sacrifices. So that's why we've got to have the calf.
Exactly. That's right. So, so this is something, so we're looking at something that was penned by the capable hand of St. Columcille.
Very nice.
Yes. So if we go to the next one, this is from the Cairo page of the Lichfield Gospel. It's also called the St. Chad Gospel because his he was the bishop there, and his relics had been at the Lichfield Cathedral for a very long time. Now they're at St. Chad's in Birmingham, but that's a different story that maybe we can explore one of these days. But what do you think about this one, Kathryn? I'd love to hear what.
Well, it's neat, especially knowing that we just talked about Lindisfarne Gospel and then the Book of Kells and seeing the Cairo in a very similar style. But then I love the fact that from a distance, you have all this beautiful scroll work that when you look closely in on, you have the interweaving of all these, I'm assuming, cranes and their necks.
Yeah. And including that white one. I mean, my eye goes right to that white crane. And it makes me wonder, is it a swan? Is it a crane? But whatever it is, and this is so beautiful. And remember, I don't have our list of when these different gospels were made, but this is probably 100 years older than the Book of Kells. And I think it might
This one's older.
Yes, and I think it's older than the Lichfield Gospels as well. Sorry, the Lindisfarne Gospels. Yeah.
Ah, fascinating.
I know. It's beautiful. And
so
if you
this
look at
page could have inspired their Cairo
yes,
pages.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And just, again, you can just get lost in it. Look at and it's not like it's not like this book is, the size of your dining room table. I mean, this is not it's a big book, but it's not that big. And when you look at this details, look at how even and how finely executed these drawings are. It's just incredible.
Which is the whole point of these drawings, is to draw us in.
Exactly.
Stay on the page and contemplate what is being shown.
Exactly. Yeah. And what we're looking at is Cairo, is the first two letters of Christ, which is worth contemplating. You can see at the bottom where it's probably it looks like it's had some kind of water damage or something.
Yeah.
Really beautiful.
Very nice.
Yeah. And I'm just noticing also, can you zoom in it again? See, this is my problem. I can stare at this stuff so much. So if you look to the left of the Cairo, the long, the longer leg, look at the white little dotted knotwork that's on the side. Just that really delicate, fine work. Can you see it?
Let me get my... So wait, which way? To the left. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, now I see. Yeah.
I know.
Here, I thought those were just little faded marks until I really looked hard to see.
Yeah. That's what I mean.
The actual little dot work. Wow.
And they're all kind of bordering the R in the Cairo. Actually, if you look, they're all over the place. Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful work.
It's with all the stain work on the page, it was hard to pull it out at first.
Yeah, but now that you see it, it's just gorgeous. Really gorgeous. Yeah.
And then going, oh, look, there's another little creature there and another creature there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, this is the thing. It's and I'm sure who knows what's been lost, sadly, because of some of that damage. Yeah. I want to go see this. I want to go. And
where is this one held right now?
This one is in Lichfield. So it's not that far from me. It's it's 40 minutes, 60 minutes away.
And is it out for public viewing?
It is. I believe it is.
Oh, nice.
I know. I've got to.
And do they have a website where you can go page by page and take closer looks?
No, unfortunately they don't. Not all of the, a lot of that it's money. And it's also depending on the condition of these gospels. Some of them cannot really be exposed that much. If this is on display, it's probably in very low light. You go into this little room and you can just see a little bit of it. But every time it's exposed, especially to a high res photography, they're risking damage. That's why what's so tragic about what happened at the British Museum, that, some hacker came in and basically ruined everything that they had worked so hard to do, is if they have to go back and take photographs of some of these manuscripts, they're just, risking damaging them more. It's just, it's really sad. Yeah. But anyway.
No.
But I could whinge about that later.
Yeah. It's not angsty.
Okay. Yes, exactly. So, all right. So let's take a look at some of these animals and how they relate to Christ. So this one is from the Book of Kells. And this is believed to be a depiction of Christ's crucifixion. And if you can look, I love that Christ is grabbing. So you've got these lions. I don't know if they're lions. They kind of look more like dragons to me. And because if you look at just below the image of Christ, if you look directly down in the little archway, you've got the Gospels, at least 3 of the Gospels. So you have, you know, and so
Matthew.
Matthew
as the angel,
Mark and Mark is the lion.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got John as the eagle. Or no, eagle. So if you look directly at the lion, which is right under Christ, you can see a mane. Do you see like a stylized blue and golden mane? Whereas these other 2 creatures don't have manes. Yeah, good. So take a good look at it. So these 2 creatures that Christ is grabbing their tongues, and they're kind of so he's, you know, kind of has his arms out, spread out as if he were on the cross. It's believed that these 2 creatures, and I'm going to call them dragons because that makes more sense in my head than lion, and those are the 2 thieves that he was crucified between. So isn't that interesting? Yeah. And another way you can tell this is depicting the crucifixion is he has the 3 crosses in his halo.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, but take a look at, so you've got these fantastical creatures, and then you've got inside that arch, if only we could zoom up a little bit more, but we can't, you know, you can only zoom up so much online, but I'm sure there are some creatures in there, probably herons, probably some kind of other bird or creature or snake. And then again, below, you can see 3 of the 4 Gospels depicted under that. And I don't know why they don't have the 4th, but maybe it was just a stylized, you know, just a call in terms of how it was going to look. I absolutely love. And it might have something to
do with the page itself.
Yeah.
Because do you know what this page is representing, or?
So this is actually like basically the table of contents. This is the top of the table of contents of, at the beginning of the book of Kells, they kind of organized which books had things in common and which of the Gospels had something extra or different. And so this was one of those pages where they kind of were organizing information for you. So if you can see the 3 arches just below it, under that, they actually look like columns. And in those columns, there's writing to let you know, like, this is the information we're trying to, this is, you know, what these Gospels have in common. And then this is what's different. I believe that's what this page is. So
it's interesting because I'm looking at the Book of Kells app while we're talking and seeing in that arch on this page is the same as on the adjoining pages. They all have the same Matthew, Mark, and John.
Oh, really?
Imagery. Yeah.
Interesting. I wonder, that's interesting. And you know, there was for a reason. You know, there's too much. They were so careful and so conscious of having some kind of logical way of organizing these things. And the fact that we can't figure it out is on us, not on them.
I almost wonder if it had something to do with the schedule of the readings throughout the year.
That's a possibility. Yeah. There are all kinds of possibilities on this. Mm-hmm. And I think if you knew how to read the insular, what is it called? Like the font, for lack of a better word, and you could read in Latin, I'm sure this is all obvious to you. It's just when I say it's not obvious to us, it's not obvious to Kathryn and me because we don't read Latin very well. And
there's still so much to learn.
There is. But do you know what? It's really fun. I have to say, it's really fun if you know a little bit, and then you can start identifying words, and then you bring that into the Book of Kells, and you can make out some words. And the way they're written is so cleverly done that you would not necessarily even get that if you were just going to read the Vulgate. They just, even the words became more than the words. They were amazing with what they did. Yeah. Yeah. So shall we go on to the next one?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is another creature who is associated with Christ, and that is the peacock. And I love this peacock. I think he's so cute. Right down to his the little 3 feathers that are very faint, but just coming off the top of his head. And this is from the Book of Kells again. And this peacock is sitting above some words. And so this kind of goes into what I was saying, how the words become more than just words. And so the peacock is sitting above the words quia descendi de cielo, which means because I came down from heaven. And so here he is. So this peacock represents Christ, and he's above, like he's in heaven, and he's coming down. That's so nice. Clever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the way it looks like he's just kind of alighted right there. He's just landed on the words.
Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And the detail in the, in his feathers, it's just, and this is not like a big image. This is just like small. In the book. Yeah. And as you're going through, and again, I think it could be a way of somebody, when you're reading the Gospels, this peacock visually tells you where you are in the Gospels. Yeah.
Very nice.
Yes. And then let's go to the next one. And here we go. Some more really gorgeous peacocks, right?
Oh, very elaborate on these feathers.
Yes. Yeah. And again, this represents eternal life. And I'm just going to read to you. So one of the things you want to take note of is the 2 Eucharistic wafers that are on the wings of these peacocks. So you've got, and then I think one is standing, it looks like there's like a cup, and from that cup is, what do you say, those are grapes? And then the other one I can't quite see. I think the other one's supposed to be olives, like oil for anointing. Okay. Not sure. So, and then just look at the arch. Look at all the animals in the arch biting each other's tails. Look at that. And they're different animals. Isn't that cool? I just noticed that. But I wanted to read some of the characteristics that I think the monks would have believed the peacock would have had. Now, in ancient times, it was believed that peacock's flesh didn't decay. Although when I started reading the Aberdeen Bestiary again, which you so wonderfully introduced us to last season, Kathryn. It wasn't so much like their flesh didn't decay. It was just that the flesh was really difficult to eat or something. So that's according to the Aberdeen Bestiary. But here are kind of the spiritual characteristics or virtues that the peacock possessed that we are to think of when we see images of him. So I'm just going to read briefly. The peacock has a fearful voice, as does a preacher when he threatens sinners with the unquenchable fire of Gehenna. It walks in an unaffected way, in the sense that the preacher does not overstep the bounds of humility in his behavior. It has a serpent's head, as the preacher's mind is held in check by wise circumspection. But the sapphire color of its breast signifies that the preacher longs in his mind for heaven. The red color in the peacock's feathers signifies his love of contemplation. The length of the tail indicates the length of the life to come. The fact the peacock seems to have eyes in its tails is a reference to every teacher's capacity to foresee the dangers that threaten each of us at the end. The green on the peacock's serpent-like head is also present in the tail, that the end might match the beginning. I know. Yeah. Yeah. So any thoughts on this one or peacocks in general?
Oh, first of all, I do love peacocks. I have an embroidery or a cross stitch I've done of peacocks, and always been fascinated by them, and especially the representation of Christ, and hearing the incorruptible flesh reference and the eyes. And a lot of times I will use eye-like imagery in the peacock feathers on the feathers of angel wings when I do paintings or embroidery work. It's a neat way to kind of, a lot of times you'll hear an angel just in descriptions, they'll talk about, eyes all over them. And so it's neat to incorporate them into the feathers, much like a peacock. What's really nice about this particular page, if you have the Book of Kells app, this is one of the feature pages where you can zoom way in on this page.
Oh, nice.
So that you can see all the tiny details in every little corner of this book or this page of the book. It's fascinating.
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, there's parts of this that I would say the only way you can really enjoy seeing the details is to either through the app or maybe even online. They might have a way for you to zoom in on this feature page.
Yeah. Oh, it's absolutely beautiful. It really, it's so engaging. I think that's the thing that I hope people are coming away with as we, explore as much as we can these Insular Gospels. They're so engaging, and they prompt conversation and ideas and wonder. We're talking about things that were, made in the 8th century. 9th century, a long time ago, and to still, and when you think about, we're just so consumed by the digital age and everything and the technology that we have, and yet something like this can completely stump us, which I love.
Oh yeah,
and draw us to wonder. Sure. Yeah. So, shall we go on to the next?
Yeah.
The next animal. So,
there we are.
Okay. So. We have the crane, and the crane is so predominantly featured in all of these insular manuscripts. And not only that, they're everywhere. I mean, everywhere. And you'll see that. And as I was going through and looking at, I was wondering, what is it about cranes? They're just everywhere. But I'll go into my little theory. Kathryn, I was frantically texting her, what do you think of this? Read this. What do you think of this theory? I'll tell you my theory in a minute. But first, we want to talk about what is called the garbled Cairo in the Royal Athelstan Gospels in Northumbria. So this is from the first half of the 8th century. And you can see it is a Cairo, a very simplistic one. A very early one. But, cranes all over the place. In fact, they look almost like ibis beaks to the right. But you've got... That's
a big long beak that hooks over on the ibis. But yes,
exactly.
Very crane.
And exactly. And to be honest, I don't know if there are any ibises in the British Isles. There might be. I don't know. But this is a very simplistic one, not very fancy compared to the other ones that we have. But I just wanted to show the cranes here, and also to just kind of show you something from a lesser known insular manuscript, and that's this Royal Athelstan one, which I had never heard of. Don't ask me how I stumbled across this one, but I'm glad I did. It's really interesting.
One of those great rabbit holes.
Exactly. Yeah. So if we can go to the next image. So here we go. So this is from the Lindisfarne Gospels. And now, again, the Lindisfarne Gospels are at the British Library. And sadly, you cannot see all of the images that they did every single page. And we can't see that now because of those issues. But this is from a website on Lindisfarne called visit lindisfarne.com. And they have many of the decorative pages that you can look at, and you can zoom in and really look at it. So I encourage people to go to that website. But take a look at, this is a carpet page from, I don't know where this one is from. It's from the Lindisfarne Gospels. My apologies. I can't remember which carpet page it is from, but take a look at all of these cranes. I mean, they're filling up every single space.
And so much so that when I saw this slide, I thought, Alix, why are you just showing us a carpet page? Where's the cranes?
Yeah.
And then I had to really stop and look. And it's like, once you pick up a feather or a beak, you can really like go into it and be, there it is. Okay.
I know. And how beautifully, see, that is an indication of how beautifully they've incorporated this crane imagery into this carpet page. It's just beautiful. It's really, really beautiful. And I guess, so I think we've got another carpet page, but before we do that, I want to just take a look at this. And then this is how I came up with my theory. And I actually want to run it across a couple of people I know who study the insular manuscripts, just to see if my theory has any weight. But I know that the Aberdeen Bestiary, which is an amazing book with an amazing website, and we've got that in the show links. I know that it's not contemporary with the insular manuscripts, so it's a couple of hundred years later. But a lot of what how the monks kind of understood the world and creation was very similar to whoever wrote the Aberdeen Bestiary, how they saw the world. Their worldview was an early medieval worldview. And so I thought, well, I wonder what the Aberdeen Bestiary says about cranes. And the other thing is, the Aberdeen Bestiary references Roman and Greek ideas and understanding of animals as well. So again, so they're referencing something that's older than what the monks. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, I think the monks would have been just as aware of how to understand what animals meant and represented in their habits. Not all of their habits were accurate, but actually some of them were really good. So I think my argument is they're coming from very similar mindsets and worldviews. So because I couldn't find any modern information about what cranes might represent in these insular Gospels, I went to the Aberdeen Bestiary to see what they might represent. So this is now, I'm going to read to you what the Aberdeen Bestiary says about cranes, and keep that in mind as you're looking at this. We can take the sentinel cranes to mean those discerning brothers who provide temporal goods for their brethren in common and have a special concern for each one of the community. They watch over the obedience of their brothers as far as they can, protecting them prudently from the assaults of the devils and the incursions of the world. The cranes, who are chosen to watch over the others, hold a small stone in their claw, which is raised off the ground, fearing lest any of them fall asleep, in which case the stone will slip from their claw and fall. If it falls, the crane wakes up and cries out. The stone is Christ, the claw, the disposition of the mind. For as any one goes on foot, so the mind strives with its dispositions for its desires as if on foot. If therefore anyone stands guard over himself or his brethren, let him carry a stone in his claw, That is, keep Christ in his mind, or let him be very careful, lest if he falls asleep in sin, the stone should fall from his claw. That is, Christ depart from his mind.
Beautiful.
So, yes, and I think these cranes are reminding twofold. They're reminding the monks to keep Christ in their mind. And also, I wonder if the cranes represents the monastic life and the monks themselves and their community.
Could see that.
Yeah.
That's lovely.
And because they're absolutely everywhere. I don't know out of all of the animals which one is featured most prominently or as often. But from what I can gather, what I've seen, the cranes are just absolutely everywhere.
Yes.
So that's my theory. Yeah.
When flipping through the Book of Kells, you see cranes on almost every page.
Yeah.
You go page by page, and there are cranes everywhere, which is absolutely fascinating. We have sandhill cranes in our area.
Yeah.
Wonderful birds. They're big.
Beautiful. I know.
And their call is almost prehistoric sounding. That's what I imagine a pterodactyl would sound like. It's a very interesting call.
Gosh.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's funny.
And of course, I got to bring it up. They're really tasty too.
They are? Oh my. See, I don't know if I can.
Yeah, they call them flying tenderloins if you live in Texas.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
That's where you can hunt them too.
That's so funny. Yeah. But like I said, so these cranes, and I think, I would love to know anybody else's feedback on my reasoning. Like just check my theory, to see if it makes any sense to you about how I approached it. And also, like I said, the prominence of the cranes. There's so many of them all over these books. They have to mean something. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, all right, shall we go to the next one?
Yeah. Another carpet
really
page.
Making our way through. Yes. And so this one, again, this is from the Insular Gospel. And so in the middle of the carpet page, you've got a lot of beautiful Celtic knotwork. But on the edge, look at that, all these cranes bordering the edge of this carpet page. And that goes all the way around. So again, and also remember what we had mentioned about the idea of the borders and the knots as being, protecting the community or keeping things in or keeping things out, that sort of thing. And then to have these cranes all along the borders, it just makes it much more intriguing what was going on in the minds of these monks.
Oh, yeah. Little brotherhood all encircling each other.
Exactly. And protecting each other. This is the other thing, the cranes, had this, the virtue of loyalty and looking after their brothers. And I didn't read all of it. I read the whole thing in the Aberdeen bestiary about cranes, but I just took that little bit out because I didn't think people wanted to hear about all the great virtues of cranes.
They can go find it too.
Yes. Well, we have it in the show notes, and that's actually a really nice website, that Aberdeen bestiary one. So any other thoughts on this one? Oh, we're going to go to the next one. Yes.
Yeah.
No, this is perfect. So this is one that Kathryn found, which I think is gorgeous. Again, from the Book of Kells, although it's not, I didn't give it credit there, but it is from the Book of Kells. And Kathryn, why don't you talk a little bit about what was it that intrigued you about this one?
What really struck me about this one is the way it's incorporating 3 different animals. So the prominent one that really stands out is the blue spotted snake with a very unusual head. The way they draw snakes, I can never tell if that snake is coming or going or has its mouth open or not. They almost seem like some crazy creature from a science fiction show or something.
Yeah.
And sometimes they'll have extra fins. So I'm like going, is it an eel or a snake?
Exactly. Well, you know what? I mean, the way we understand and classify things today, we use the scientific classification or taxonomy, but they had their own way of classifying things. So they could have looked at an eel and go, that looks like a snake.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And then biting the snake right in the middle, you see this beautiful lion's head, which wraps around to the point where the snake is actually going through the legs of the lion and almost biting the lion's tail.
Yeah.
The way that it's overlapped and intertwined. And then in the middle of all of this is a crane.
Yeah.
So I found it interesting, especially thinking of the cranes as the monks and Christ as the lion and the snake as Satan is in the Garden of Eden. And here you have Christ surrounding those brothers and protecting them from, Satan's sting. And it's like he saved us all.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is neat from the page that it's on. I was able to find at gospelbookofkells.ie. They had a translation of the page.
Yeah.
And this one reads, where they're talking about Christ saying, "Amen, I say to you, there hath not risen among them that are born of woman a greater than John the Baptist. Yet he is lesser in the kingdom of heaven than heaven is greater than he." So it's kind of neat that it's from that time where it's like Christ is showing you that, you believing in him, you're right up there with the greatest in heaven.
Yeah. Yeah. And also to follow up with that, because I have to tell our viewers, so Kathryn sent this to me and I was like, so what is this? And you were like, I don't know, I'll go find out. And so you found that another really interesting website, which we will have in the show notes. That one I think is fun to maybe look and see what you can pick out in terms of the words, the text of the Gospels. And so that's what I did. And this bit is, so what you read was right above it. And I don't know how I think this image relates to the whole idea of it, as you're saying. And I love your take on it as the lion protecting the monks from temptation and sin. But right next to it, it says, from the days of John the Baptist until now, the kingdom of heaven is assailed and the violent bear it away. Mm-hmm. So this is something like maybe this eel type of snake creature assailing, as you said. I think it's interesting. You just looking at the image picked up on the idea of the text that was right next to it without knowing the text. Isn't that cool?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's what they want you to do. That's what they want us to do. Yeah.
Yeah. All these little, as people would say now, doodles are actually pointing to a deeper understanding of what's being said in the text.
Yeah.
And it allows you to jump in and figure it out without necessarily reading it. That's how I read books a lot as a kid anyway. Look at the picture and figure it out.
Exactly. I mean, it's a great way to learn how to read. It really is. And also when you say doodles, that's how we say it in kind of a dismissive way, but this is not a doodle. This took planning to do this little, I love it though. I absolutely love this one.
And the color combination in this. Oh, yeah. And it's fascinating. You look at the lion's paws and the paws that are like in the background are the teal colored ones.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see how he has two different colored sets of paws there. And then the way that the feathers of the crane overlap the body of the lion. So So,
Yes.
we are one with him when we stay within him.
Yeah. I just love it. And I kind of think it's neat how this serpent has little whiskers. These little whiskers.
Yeah.
Kind of cute.
Yeah, I have to say, the serpents in the Book of Kells, some of them crack me up because they almost look like their face is inside out. I don't know. Like the mouth is on the outside of the eyes. It's crazy, but
that's kind of
serpent-like.
Oh, do you know what? Maybe I've completely looked at it incorrectly. Maybe the mouth is open, and that little bit that I thought was his nose. Maybe that's his tongue. Do you see what I'm saying?
No idea. I know. It's so hard to look at this face going, which way does this go?
So cool. Yeah. But you can look at it. Yeah. Very neat. Very neat. All right. So now we're going to move on to, here we go. So this one. So in medieval times, it's believed that lions, so they and I think I didn't read about, I'm going to be honest, I didn't read about lions in the Aberdeen bestiary.
We read about the lion in the Aberdeen in our episode about animals.
Did we?
Previously.
Okay.
Oh yeah, there's a whole section on lions, so you have to go back and watch.
Okay. I will do. Yeah. Well, I was like looking for I was excited about the whole crane thing, but in medieval times, it was believed that lion cubs were born dead, and that after 3 days, the father would come and breathe on them and bring them back to life. And so, and obviously, as Christians and knowing about the resurrection of Christ and how he's the Lion of Judah, and these have all kinds of resurrection image ideas in this image of this lion, which is he's forming the border of part of the Book of Kells that we discussed in a lot more detail in the second half of our episode on the Book of Kells. And, it's I like how his breath looks like fire, which makes you think it could be a dragon, but if you can look at the mane, it's actually a lion. But one of the things I wanted to just point out, again, we have an image from the Urnes Stavkirke, is if you look inside kind of the space where the head is of the second creature, which I don't think I think that might be a cat, actually. That's kind of bent and contorted to look like the letter T. Inside there, you have several creatures, but you've got one biting the other one. And I think it's really interesting how you've got these zoomorphic animals that are always biting each other. And I just thought it was interesting. It's very similar battles going on,
Oh, yeah. It's almost like, I had a dog, and when he needed to get his point across every now and then, he'd just, not bite, but put his mouth on my hand. And it's like, okay, you're trying to get my attention somehow, or show a little power. So you can kind of see how it's like, one trying to show some power over the other. The constant battle that we have going on back and forth within our lives between, sin and salvation.
Yeah. And also, and I think what you said brought up a really good point about your dog as a way of communication. I know, like these two images, we know it's definitely a battle scene. But I'm just thinking about the ones with all of the cranes. Is that communication?
Yes.
That linking together and staying together as a community. So that's kind of neat. Thank you, little Charger, for making us,
Oh, you remembered my puppy's name.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Oh, yeah.
Any other thoughts about this? Oh, sorry, I was going to say, any other thoughts about the lion? And then...
But no, I think it's time to thank our patrons. We'll give them a little shout out.
Sounds like a plan. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so we'd like to take a moment to thank our patrons who make it possible for us to create the Secrets of Sacred Art, including Kristen A., Jeremy N., Ben B., Debbie L., and Jeffrey K. Their generous donations at sqpn.com/give make it possible for us to continue the Secrets of Sacred Art and to fund all the shows at StarQuest. You can join them by visiting sqpn.com/give.
Yes, thank you very much. Very much. Okay. Talking about a creature biting another creature.
There you go.
Again, this is one. Now, this is from the Book of Kells. This is from the Cairo page. And it is an otter, and he's got a little salmon in his mouth. So, Kathryn, you want to let's get your thoughts on this. It's such a neat.
Well, one of my favorite creatures of all time is the otter. We get to see them romp around and play in the lakes and streams in and around Lake Michigan up here. So fascinating. Okay. They're fun to watch when they're on land too, because they have such a funny little way of loping along on land, and they get in the water and off they go, smooth as can be.
I know.
This little guy, he's done a good job nabbing that fish.
I know. And again, look at like the distance between the color and the line. You know, you've got this white border all around it. And look at how even it is. It's just it's perfect. Perfect.
Yeah. That's excellent.
But it's thought that this otter and the fish represent creatures of the water. And again, they are not classifying things the way we classify them today. A water creature was a water creature, and otters and fish, they would have put in the same category. And it's just really whimsical and lovely.
Well, in Catholic tradition, there's one little water rodent of South America that is still allowed to be eaten on Fridays in Lent.
That is so funny. What is it?
Oh gosh, I'm trying to remember his name right now.
Don't say the capybara.
Is that a really big rodent in South America?
It is.
I think it might.
Yeah, it's the biggest rodent ever.
Yeah, because it spent so much time in the water, it was classified as being almost like a cold-blooded creature. So that meant it didn't represent the warm-blooded sacrifice of Christ or the sacrifices of the past. So it was still on the menu, much like here in Michigan. Somehow the muskrat got classified in that category as well. But I hear you never want to really eat one of those things. They don't taste very good.
I cannot imagine. Yeah. No, I think we're past. Not much of a sacrifice to not eat one of those things. Yeah. So these would represent creatures of the water. Yeah. So let's look at another one. I love this. So this is so all of these, I think we've taken all of these creatures from the Book of Kells. And these,
from the Cairo page, right?
From the Cairo page, which is also significant because it's showing Christ is Lord over all of creation. So they've included all of creation here, the different aspects of creation. And these are two moths. And do you know what? When I was looking at this, I thought, I've got to embroider this. Wouldn't this make a beautiful, something? I just love it. Yeah. So I'm gonna have to figure out how to do this. And they represent the air. Now, when we were going over the film, The Secret of Kells, they named these moths, and they were supposed to be like two minds of two people of one mind or something. That they also represented friendship, but I couldn't remember, and I couldn't. I didn't even know where to start to go back and look for all this stuff. I didn't want to watch the film all over again just to figure out what they were calling the moths. You know what I mean? I do have a certain limited amount of time when I do my research, but But anyway, they represent creatures of the air. And they're beautiful. They're different. They're two different species of moths.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at their wings. And they've just
I can
got
imagine
that beautiful.
In my mind, I like to picture the monk that was working on this actually having a moth in the room. Because there's it's neat. It's like, okay, they can freak you out sometimes when they flutter by and you realize, oh my gosh, when did this get in the house? But then they'll find a spot on the wall somewhere and just sit so still that you can actually get up close and look at all the beautiful details they were created with. So I just kind of imagine the monk being surprised by a little moth fluttering by his lamp and then sitting still and being able to pull all these beautiful details onto the page.
Exactly. No, exactly. Beautiful. And there's just, and you can even see their little eyes. You can see their little antennae. They have, well, and I guess, do they have like a proboscis, like the tongue, or is that just, they must do. Like, yeah, I was going to say. So you can see all of that detail really accurately. I would say this is an accurate depiction of two different species of moths.
And that's what's also beautiful about the animals in the Book of Kells. They can be super highly stylized, and yet you can also have some that are stylized and accurate. It's just beautiful balance between natural and symbol. Yeah,
really, really, and it's how the way they saw creation. You have to see. You have to look at the world through very special eyes in order to create these books. And it's through their eyes of faith and understanding whatever they needed to understand about creation. They didn't flatten it out. They brought it to different levels. It's very multidimensional understandings of nature. Yeah.
We got to see what they did with everyday little critters.
Exactly. This one, I want to get your take on this one. So these are two cats, two different cats, and we've got 4 mice, and we have 1 Eucharistic wafer in between the 2 mice. So the mice and the cats represent creatures of the earth. And but what's your take on this, Kathryn? I tried to look up some stuff, but I just couldn't figure anything out. What's your take on it?
Yeah, I know. This one's always kind of surprised me because there is another image where there is a cat chasing a mouse who is a host.
Yeah.
And yet these cats aren't chasing the mice. Well, they seem to have them caught. They have their tails under their front paws.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But everybody seems to just be at rest. So maybe this is like when they say all creation awaits the glory of God. This is that. We're there.
I like that. Yeah. You're right. And good call on the nice observation of their feet, the cat's claws catching the mice, because how many hours have I looked at this and I never saw that. I think I was too focused on why do they have that Eucharistic host, but I do like that idea. Yeah, resting. And because the Eucharist is really the center of this little image, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And they're all, focused on it.
Oh, yeah.
So let's see. So we've got a couple of other interesting beasts that I found in various places. And this one is from the Lindisfarne Gospels. I think this is from the book of Matthew, St. Matthew. And at first, I thought this was a double-headed snake that's forming the M. And I think it's got it. Actually, the M is, now I've understood. Now I get it. How cool. So we've got the M is in the yellow.
Sorry.
Go back. That's okay. Got all excited about it. So the M is in the yellow or the gold. And then you've got an A in the green. And if you look next to it, it's the THEU or EW, Matthew. It spells Matthew. And anyway, so I thought it was like and it's interesting. So that the A looks like it might be some kind of bird of prey head. And then you've got definitely a snake, because you can see their tongues coming out of their mouth. Anyway, this kind of snake is called an amphisbaena, which is an ant-eating serpent with a head on either side of its body. So now we know. So that's called an amphisbaena, Amphisbaena. I just thought that was
interesting.
Cool. I know. They don't make creatures like they used to.
No. But you can definitely see that in, some sort of Tolkien-esque type film.
I know. The amphisbaena. Oh my gosh. Somebody could name their pet snake that. Anyway, so that's a neat one. And then again, this one, I love this. I didn't look up the scripture underneath this, but did you? Did you look it up?
I did not. I was just too enamored with the expressions on this little group of chickens.
I know.
I mean, the rooster, he's, his usual cocky self.
Exactly.
Yes, and very, proud-eyed. The two hens are fascinating.
Yes.
Because you have the one in the middle is very much, heading toward the rooster. The one following is biting the tail of the one, has its tail crossed with its wings and everything, and its feet are in knots.
I know. I was looking at that.
So see, now I really better find out what it says on this page.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because you have this almost wayward younger rooster or hen.
Yeah.
That's all tangled up, being led to the rooster.
Do you know, that's exactly what I was thinking. And do you know what? So I didn't look up what this was saying in the Book of Kells, but I did look up what the rooster or the cockerel represents in the Aberdeen Bestiary. So so with all of that in mind, let me just read what it says. When the cock crowed assiduously for the last time, Peter himself, the rock of the church, washed away his guilt, which he had incurred by denying Christ before the cock crow. When the crowing of the cock, as with the words of Jesus, hope returns to everyone, the troubles of the sick are erased, the pains of wounds is lessened, the raging heat of fevers is moderated, faith is restored to those who have fallen.
There you go. It does work that way.
It does. You've got one who's, and do you know what? It could be the same chicken, like the before, and as she's moving towards the rooster, she's restored.
Yes, it could be.
Yeah,
very much.
Yeah, and also the one with the crooked feet and the crooked feathers is not the focus. The gaze is not on the rooster, whereas the other one is very focused on the rooster.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
fun.
Yeah,
and I do love roosters. There's so much rooster art.
I know
that I just find fascinating.
I know. I do. I like them. My dream is it's never going to happen. I would love
What's your dream?
Chickens. I would love to have chickens and a rooster, but I don't know. It's this dog and cat thing and the foxes and everything. I don't think it would work out. It would work out for a day and then no more. But anyway, so let's go into the next one if we could. So this one, I couldn't really get an up-close picture of it, but maybe, as you recommended, which I thought was a great idea, is for people to press pause and just go right up and take a look at these images. What I love about this one is this one has some of the you have an angel on one side with a fan. Interesting. And on the other side, you have an eagle. So we know that represents the Gospel of St. John. But inside the arch, you've got a griffin and a stag, which I think is really interesting.
Yeah.
And
this is Book of Kells, yes?
This is from the Book of Kells, yeah, sorry.
Nice.
So this is one of the table of contents from the Book of Kells. So you can kind of look at it, get an idea of how they would have been reading this or dividing the Gospels. And you've got these two creatures biting the arches, the two smaller arches, and inside each little kind of pie wedge of the arches, you actually have men, and they're all entangled together. Yeah.
Interesting.
So I didn't look up, anything about griffins in the Aberdeen bestiary, although I guarantee you they're in there. And or stags, those are also in there. But I just think I love this. And I love the wings. They almost look Egyptian, don't they? At the top.
Yes. Yeah, they do.
Really beautiful.
Very nice.
Yeah. And then
I wish this was one of those feature pages that you could zoom in on in the Book of Kells.
I know, because there's just so much there. I bet, I wonder if at the Trinity College, I wonder if they have the ability where you can like look at each of these highly decorated pages in as much detail as you want. I don't know.
Yeah.
Again, you could get lost in it. And this is just a table of contents.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And then last but not least, this is from the Lindisfarne Gospels. And what I love about this is this cat. And inside the cat are all of these cranes again. But can you see the cat on the far right side? And he's kind of arching.
One of the most beautifully drawn cat faces in any of the ones we've talked about so far. Because back to what I mentioned about the moths, he's stylized, but still so naturally drawn.
Yes.
It's just such a good balance between nature and symbol.
Yeah. This might have been a cat that was lived with the monks. You never know.
I get the Pagaron song going through my head just looking at him.
I know. Exactly. And I just love how he's arched, and I don't know if it's meant like, the cranes are in his tummy. I don't think that's what it is. I just think it's just part
that was the first thing I thought of. He's got a belly full of crane.
I know, a big long belly full of cranes. But then again, speaking of cranes, look at all of the cranes in this. Not just the border, but even on the upper left-hand side, there's some more cranes. They're everywhere.
Yeah.
And
I love that you can really pick out the Lindisfarne Gospel by the red dot work.
Yes. Yeah.
Fabulous.
That's exactly what I was thinking. That is something where when you see this so much of that little dot work, you kind of know it's the Lindisfarne Gospels. I would love to do this because an embroidery piece using French knots to do the borders. I think it would just be beautiful. I have an article, I haven't read it yet, but it's about the Lindisfarne Gospels, and there's this theory that they didn't finish it on purpose because in some of these the Lindisfarne, the Gospels are not finished. And do you know what? I think we're going to have to wrap this up.
Okay.
Because
it always has to end, doesn't it?
I know it does, but I'm just going to say it's because my computer is like, I forgot to plug it in. So sorry. But anyway, but that's perfect. That's perfect. So, yeah. So,
all right.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Alix. And thank you for listening to the Secrets of Sacred Art on StarQuest. To find previous episodes of the Secrets of Sacred Art and to send feedback, please visit sqpn.com/sacredart. You can send us comments by email at sacredart@sqpn.com or by leaving us a comment on YouTube. Join us in conversation by visiting the Secrets of Sacred Art channel on the StarQuest Discord community. We love posting all kinds of fun pictures and stuff between shows.
Yes.
And that's at sqpn.com/discord. And we'll be back next time when we'll be discussing The Queen and the Fisherman, the meeting of St. Margaret of Scotland and St. Andrew. Until then, I'm Kathryn Laffrey.
And I'm Alix Murray. We hope you find something beautiful. Bye-bye.